somebody will pick up on it again for God knows what reason, and it'll start picking up traffic. You know, I mean, that's just, I think, already sort of the, the media culture that we all exist in. So that's just part of the reality, but I think, it's going to depend a lot on how we engage people, including, academics who may make use of this research, other journalists, citizens, politicians. I mean, that's what we're hoping to do, I think, is to sort of, do this in a way that people are going to then take it and appropriate it for all kinds of other uses. That's sort of our challenge as always.
And to quickly add off of that really quick, one thing that is really important to do also is to get really good sound for your interviews. So you think about these stories in different ways. It's like when you mine a piece of gold, there's a lot of different ways that you refine it. So your gold is that interview that you get. And then, so if you have good sound from it, you can sell it to a radio station. You can think about the piece, the one that you pitch might be a print piece, but if you have great audio, you could approach an editor at KPCC or something like that, say, got this really great interview, this good sound, and then they could take it in different ways of maybe producing it, or they could buy that sound off of you. But I'll bring your camera, shoot some photographs as well. So you just have each story can be flipped in numerous ways. You can make a narrative feature out of it, or you can make a Q&A. So there's all these different, iterations of how you can sell it.
I think what I'll do too, because I'd like to give you tools too. As you go out in the next 2 weeks and you're headed towards your November 1st deadline and you are looking at community again and how to engage. If any of you have any, be sure when you talk to people and you get their contacts and so forth and so on, ask them, it's as simple as asking for their email and to stay in touch, and you send them, just keep in touch with them and ask them to send it out when it's published, if it's published, that they also connect and then you link back to them, right? So that's really a simple thing. I think I might copy this understanding your community section, because the community engagement aspect, this idea of context and you as context makers, in a lot of ways is the purest act of journalism that you can have.
Tammy. Just a quick comment about, I think what's really, really cool about what we're doing here, at least some of the ideas for visualizations for the ArtsEd project kind of really speak to this idea of open journalism and making tools that will live on. So, for example, mapping the brain. In a way, it's a bit of curation. We're taking these studies, we're looking at what's been reported out there, what advances have been made, but also opening it so that people can add on their own studies. When new advances come on, you have this map as it looks now, but that map may change. And giving people space to weigh in and provide their own information, I think is really cool. I mean, what Ricky would be doing in terms of a timeline. It's an interactive timeline, looking at moments in history or the last couple decades and how education's been impacted in various ways. People can add to that timeline, or there will be more times moving forward. So all this stuff will continue to live on and can live on, and will be very useful tools. The only times in Mapping LA, and that continues to be used by people now. Determine what neighborhoods they're in, what neighborhoods they're talking about. Can't tell you how many journalists use that. I personally, these are tools that people in the future looking into these issues will use, and they might link to or even embed on their sites. But I think these projects really do have power to live on, especially online.
Especially if they're fun and cool and fun.
Yes.
which is okay. So I completely interrupted your reading time. Do you want a little reading time and then go into your huddle groups? Okay. So contested spaces is staying in the living room. Arts education is going into the dining room. Why art here? Why art here? The dance. Does that make sense? Okay. Great. And, these are hard-boiled eggs. I got you cookies so you have good brain power. I hate to see it turbonex in a bag, but they're delicious, I can vouch.